So we've spent a lot of time talking about arrays, multiple arrays, two-dimensional arrays, character arrays. How about if we spend just a little bit of time talking about vectors and seeing how vectors and arrays may be similar and they may be different. So what we're going to do is we're going to modify our Sleep Well hotel that use two-dimensional arrays, and we're going to see if we can modify it to be a Sleep OK motel with a vector instead. So I have some pseudocode available up here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to prompt the user for a name. We're going to prompt him for a room. We're going to assume that there's only one floor in our motel, and then we're going to assign that room if available. So I've already included some of the things that we're going to need. For instance, line 11 now, we're going to pound include vectors, because in order to access vectors and all of the functions or methods that are available to them, we need to include that. Line 15, we don't need any constants for the size of the number of floors and the number of rooms. We don't need that one. But then let me come down here and show you just a little bit how our pseudocode is flowing. So we're going to create a vector. We're going to declare a couple of variables. We're going to initialize the vector to available, kind of like we did with our array. We're going to display it. We're going to prompt the user for their name, and then we're going to loop. And a part of that loop is we're going to prompt him for their room number. It looks like I deleted that pseudocode. We'll prompt them for their room number here. And then once we've done that, we're going to have to validate the value that they have keyed in. We're going to assign that room. We're going to display it again, and we're going to ask them, do you have another one? And then we'll have our graceful close and our exit. So let's see if we can implement our Sleep OK motel with vectors. So the first thing that we're going to do is declare some of our variables. On line 22, I have created a string vector that I have called Sleep OK. I created a couple of other variables, the string name variable and the int room variable, which I initialized to 0. The next thing that we're going to do is initialize 6 rooms in our vector to available, kind of like we had 3 floors and 6 rooms on each floor. We're going to have 6 rooms in our motel as well. Let's see if it is as difficult to initialize all the values in a vector as it is in an array. So Sleep OK, that's the name of our vector, but I'm going to use the assign function that's available to a vector. And what I'm going to put inside of here, 2 parameters, is the first parameter is going to be how many elements that I want in my vector, and the second one is going to be what I would like them initialized to or assigned to. I guess we could assign it. Much simpler to be able to do that. So let's display the vector and see if our assigning them to avail worked correctly. So let's see if we can display it. We're going to say for we'll initialize our loop control variable to 0. This time I'm going to say as long as count is. Remember, we don't have constants for the size of the vector. Instead, we're going to use another function that is available to it called size. So as long as count is less than size, we will increment our counter variable, and from there all we need to do is we will set the width just like we did before. We'll set the width of our field to 15, and then we will just see out Sleep OK. And then I'm going to use the add function for our count. The add function is going to give us the element at our count, and once we're done with that, I'm just going to see out let's see out a couple of, we're going to force a couple of new lines after that. And then I'm going to run the program and see. Right now it's on that my couts are unhappy because I don't have any braces around my for loop. So let's run it. All right, it looks like now I have 6 rooms available in our motel, and I can see our graceful close. So the next thing that I'll do is we're going to prompt him for the name. We're going to automatically start with get line so we can read in the whole entire thing. I'm going to start a while loop here. And the while is, we're going to see that name is not equal to Q. So we should probably give them this sentinel value, such as Q to quit. It's always a good idea to tell the user what the sentinel value is. So in here, we're going to say while name is not equal to a capital Q or lowercase q, and simultaneously, name is not equal to a lowercase q. Oh, that one needs to be. All right, so now we have dogs barking. All right, so my opening clip, my curly brace, I'm going to come down here to my end loop, and I'm going to put my closing curly brace there. The change of the condition is just to ask again. I will copy that prompt to ask again. I'm going to change my my prompt just a little bit. So enter your name. How about enter another name or something like that? We'll change it a little bit, and then we'll run it. All right, let's see if we can test this while the dogs are not barking. So we're just testing the loop, right? So if I put in Sam, it should loop. If I put in Sarah, it should loop. If I put in Juan, as soon as I key in the sentinel value, it should exit. So now we're going to prompt for the room. I'm just going to ask him for the desired room. Since it is a motel, I need to validate the selection. So inside of a while loop, I'm going to say, while their room number is greater than the size, that function is available to me, size. I'm going to tell it's invalid input, and I'm going to prompt them for the room number again. So a test of that validation, we only have 6. We created this vector with 6 elements. So we're going to test it. So if I put in too many, or as a matter of fact, if I put in too few, it's going to tell me invalid. So I'm going to key in a valid number and then Q to quit. I can see that I am now trapped in an infinite loop because it is scrolling. My program is running right now. Can you tell me what happened and why it's not allowing me to key in another name or, for that matter, a desired room? What do you think? It seems like I am doing a cin read, which is leaving things in the input stream, followed immediately by a getLine read. So before I do a getLine, after some kind of a cin read, I'm going to have to cin.ignore, right? So we're going to ignore for int max. And then the second parameter, remember, is a character new line. So it will either ignore all the way up to the maximum size of an integer or until it finds a new line. And if I run it again, then hopefully we will not be trapped in this infinite loop. So if I say 2, there you go. 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, and 14. So I'll say 5, and then Q to quit. So assigning the room is going to be much the same way that we did it with the arrays and our hotel. So I'm going to say if sleep okay at room -1. Remember, if they keyed in 6, because it's 0-based, we want to go 0 to 5. Our index goes 0 to 5, but we're going to have them key in 1 through 6. And so I'm going to subtract 1 here, and I'm going to tell them if it's not available, then I'm going to tell them that it's not available. Otherwise, I am going to assign room -1 to the name. Now, if I allow them to key in 0 through 6 right here. So this says while the room is greater than 6, because the size would be 6, tell them that it's invalid. But I also don't want them to key in a 0. So I'm going to say if room is greater than sleep size, okay, or, so we'll put the or, room is, we could actually say less than or equal to 0, because I don't want them to key in 0, mainly because I'm about to subtract a 1 right here. And then we want to display the vector. I'm pretty sure that I already have the logic available to me to display the vector. So I'll come up here and display the vector. I'll paste it in there. Looks like we got a couple of new lines after that, and then we will run it. Or we'll make sure that we have that semicolon at the end of it, and then we'll run. All right, so let's test a room. How about if we put them in room 1? I see it puts them in room 1. How about if we put Tiny Tim in room 6? I can see that it did indeed put him in 6. Can I put Sarah in room 0? Because it's 0 base, can I put her in 0? Nope, it says not. So, desired room. How about 2? How about if we try to put room 1 in room 2? It says that that room is unavailable. Please try again. So, we'll put room 1 in room 3. Oh, and now we're going to put 3 in room 3. There you go. And Q to quit. So this is mimicking what we did with an array. Instead, we are using vectors.